How do you feel when something is stolen from you? Something that you worked really hard for? Well, I have a family member who receives state aid funding. He also abuses drugs more often than not. I work every day at a job that is non-stop manual labor and doesn't pay all that well, but I work hard for the money that I earn. I then come home to find him either asleep or already gone out for a night of partying. He receives more money than I make for working very hard, while he is doing no work or even slightly contributing to the household or society, and it supports his very corrupt and expensive lifestyle. You go to work every day to support your family, your household, your bills. Then you pay your taxes, as you are required by law, which then goes to the government, to things like their funding for state aid recipients, to people like my stepbrother. Your hard-earned money could literally be going to things that you believe in, but instead it is taken, and there is a chance it's going to someone who abuses drugs and isn't required to even lift a finger to earn that money. Today I would like to talk to you about, first, the good in drug testing in order to receive state aid, secondly, how little the government addresses this issue, and then finally, the opposing opinions for those who believe requiring this drug testing should not become law. I'll begin by explaining the positives in requiring drug testing for these candidates. People in the United States are being abused and disrespected by some of the recipients of state aid funding. The problem is, these people requesting and receiving the money are not required to report past drug or alcohol abuse, and nor are they testing before or during the time they are receiving the money, reported for the American Journal of the Public Health. The effects of this is permitting continued drug use, both disrespects and neglects families in need who follow the law and truly need this help, as stated in the New York Times. So, now that you have an idea of the problem, let me tell you how little the government is paying attention to this issue. The American Journal of Public Health reported that only 14% of states administering this type of aid even ask the applicants about drinking or drugs in their routine assessment process. 14%, a non-existent amount of concern for people being taxed in order to generate these funds. So, what needs to be done to correct it? The solution to this problem is that in order to even begin the process of receiving funds, recipients be required to pass a drug test, and then continue to pass them throughout the duration of the time that they are being handed this money. If drug testing was implemented, then drug and alcohol abusers, especially those who take this money just to continue the abuse process, would not be accepted, and those who are truly in dire need and are deserving would be able to start the process to receiving the help they need. To implement this solution, the government needs to pass a law that states drug testing is mandatory in order to receive this help. It would be implemented at the very first stage in the process and then continuously, at random, while these people are still receiving money. So, there's a simple plan of action in order to correct this process. Approve a law for drug testing, correct the administering process to where it includes these questions and actions. Those who abuse substances or are on disability due to substance abuse and cannot stay clean no longer receive state funding. You can see how simple it would be to correct this abuse of taxpayers. So now, let's discuss what the opposing arguments of this solution are. The New York Times states that drug testing recipients of public benefits is an effective policy that burdens taxpayers. This testing is costly and does not address drug dependence or underlying issues. This testing won't allocate money for treatment, though treatment would put these recipients back on track to employment, therefore no longer needing the assistance from the government. The consequence of inaction is that it allows substance abusers to continue to live this disrespectful lifestyle on hard-working taxpayers' money. As you can see, passing this legislation will not only protect those paying their taxes, but also those who are in dire need of the assistance and actually deserve the help. I've now told you how this can personally affect you, how the government is not respecting the taxpayers, and the opposition to this issue. What if it's your money going to someone who lays in bed all day and then spends the rest of their time abusing drugs? Hard-earned money that you needed for your bills or to support your family. Think of the comfort you would feel if you knew this money was actually going to someone who did everything right and just needed another chance and just a little bit of help. Thank you for listening.